Viewer discretion is advised. Your fave will be criticized. That's Shan!
That's Chris!
And welcome to CCTV, the non-stop pop show!
And today we are going to do a quick mix review and recap of BluPrint's debut EP and discuss BET's The Encore. So you're probably wondering, who are these two good-looking people? Well, Chris and I, we are music industry experts, not really, but yes. So we have a myriad of experiences in the music industry, from performing on stage and recording in the studio to managing business contracts and budgets. So at CCTV, we analyze artists' career and songs from both the creative and professional angles. And if you made it this far, if you made it past our theme song, be sure to subscribe and give us a like so you can have more content like this.
First off, if you don't know, well, you should know if you're watching this, but BET Presents The Encore was a TV show where some members of various American girl groups from like the late 90s, early 2000s came together to record an album or an EP and do a showcase performance in 30 days. So the cast was Shamari from Black, Irish and Lamisha from 702, Fallon and Felicia from Cherish, Pamela from Total, Keely from 3LW and the Cheetah Girls, Aubrey from Danity Kane, and Nivea, who is a solo star, or was a solo star.
Right.
So for me, out of this cast, so I knew Danity Kane and Keely, like from Cheetah Girls and 3LW, and also Black. I know those like discographies relatively well. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really know who 702 and Cherish were. I don't think they really made it to Asia.
I feel you.
Yeah. But I'm going to be honest, so the initial pilot, right, from like years ago of this same television show was actually helmed by Dee Woods from Danity Kane, and it included Melody from the Pussycat Dolls and Farrah from Destiny's Child. So I'm going to be honest and say that this cast is a little bit of a step down. Sorry.
I know what you mean. I've seen that pilot as well, where like Keely and Farrah were going on back and forth between just listing things of accolades and whatnot. And she's like, we had like a, platinum record. And she's like, honey, they had a platinum record or whatever the heck happened. But, that was something interesting because we all wanted to know the story of DC featuring Farrah Franklin. But yeah, like you said, for the remaining group members and the groups that you mentioned, they are what I would call Black famous. I think a lot of people would just call them Black famous, like Maze and Frankie Beverly. A lot of people don't know them the way they would know the Beatles, right? So with this group, like Total and 702 and Cherish, they are quote unquote Black famous because they had songs and a lot of like original soundtracks for like Soul Food and a lot of 90s, like Black 90s movies. And Nivea, of course, she had like, don't mess with my man, all that kind of like singing. I don't know if she had only that one song, but she has other songs obviously, but she's well known for that song. And I remember when I was younger watching Powerpuff Girls, Cherish actually did the like some of the songs for the Powerpuff Girls soundtrack, which is interesting because in our Sugar Babes episode, our Pop 101 episode, we talked about how they did the Powerpuff Girls. So it's interesting to see what happened with, European/Asian kind of media and what happened here in the West, in America. But, shout out to Keely though, from 3LW for going out on her own, having a solo record. Spectacular. Okay, honey, because he must have pulled a track out when he was blowing my back out. If you don't know that video, or that song, we will educate you one of these days, or you can just go search it yourself.
Yes, please do yourself a favor and go look up Keely Williams.
Yes. Diane Warman, Babyface, all of them are quaking in their boots. I'm just saying. The lyrics, amazing. All that being said, though, I think it's interesting that all of these women with a long career, or had like an era where people knew them, they were really famous, they were performing all over the place, were put into this house. So this concept of the encore, giving these women a second chance, I think was great. The idea of a redemption story for our beloved girl groups of yesteryear makes for a compelling watch. But, I'm not sure if it translated well on screen or just compatibility wise. I think it was just, hey, we need to find girl groups. I don't know. But I mean, it's nice to have a visual to see like, oh, what happened to this person from this group or what have you. What do you think about the Encore?
So first off, I love TV shows like this. You know, I used to love Pop Stars and Making the Band, and then even now still watching like the K-pop version of these like group formation shows. So I was excited about the concept, even though I wasn't totally impressed by the casting. But I think the problem is it felt like overall it wasn't people who make music that made this show. Like if you watch Making the Band and stuff, yes, of course there's a lot of drama within the group and business, but more and business drama, but they did still focus a lot of time on the music itself and the process itself, and this show didn't focus on that, and it was really just about all the fighting. So I think that actually took away from my enjoyment of it.
No, I agree. I think I don't know. I feel like cordiality was just thrown out of the window. Like there's no sense of like, maybe in the beginning, the first hour or so of being in that house, or maybe like the first day or so, like people were being pretty like, you know, there was some decorum, just like savoir faire that was definitely apparent, but very quickly they became cliquey and argumentative, which I don't understand how that happened because they're all women that are older than both of us. Maybe with a couple of them being, no offense, but they're older than both of us. That being said, you've lived all your life almost, especially with a lot of what the Cherished girls were saying, with being like a woman in music, with all the tension that you already have as women in music. Why is it that when you get into this house, you guys can't seem to find a semblance of peace? So yeah, and I don't know if it's because the cast was just not okay. I feel like a lot of people had egos that should have not been there. If you have been 20 years out of the game, 20 years not making a song, or even 10 years of not even working in the industry, and you decide to live like a normal life, the ego needs to be put away completely. But
well, I think so. It felt like they just needed like someone just to come mediate the initial conversation. Each of them needed to come out and discuss the previous issues they've had in their respective girl groups. They needed to talk about the past because the whole point of the show is like they want to be in this girl group without these problems that they had before. So like they never actually had that discussion, and they went straight into like nominating this queen. Right. And then going straight into let's get into the studio, like let's do all this without like the initial bonding part of it. Like it just made no sense that they didn't have that discussion. Like I think they did maybe in individual conversations, but that because that's the whole concept of the group, it needed to start with that, with everybody.
No, you're so right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that conversation should have been had for sure. And I thought that was sorely lacking in in this. I mean, they had like a host, which is Sita, which is like an old school like VJ from back in the day, Black famous. I saw your
no, but she didn't do anything. Like she was there just as a name. Like she didn't actually do anything. Yeah.
No, she didn't. I think she kind of was just like, you guys need to get it together. And they were like, yeah, we know. Like, it was just weird. It was like, no offense to Sita, but if you were going to be there, I don't know. You're right. There's just a great deal of negligence in in the realm of communication for sure. But I do have to say there were some interesting moments, like right off the bat, like Keely coming into that house. No tea, no shade, but creative director? What?
Okay. I think this is another mistake because clearly she had told the producers and stuff that this is what she wanted to do when she came into the house, right? I think, right? We think, but like there was no like having her just go in and tell everyone that like no one's gonna respect that. Like that is just ridiculous. Like if that was gonna be her role and that's what she agreed to with the producers, she should have been introduced as like a consultant of sorts, like with two other people, like, you know, bring in 2 or 3 other people, other former girl group members who don't want to be in a girl group, and have them be like the creative like team of consultants or whatever. Like that whole thing was just like they literally did that knowing there'd be conflict, you know? So like it just felt like everything was like trying to have them fail. Like literally all these production things were just like hoping for that. And I don't love that. And then as we've listed this whole cast, and as you can see, the EP cover only has 4 people on it. So they lost more than half of this cast by the time this EP came out, so Aubrey was the first one to go out.
Yeah.
Out of this whole group, I think I have the biggest connection to Aubrey just because of all the seasons of making the band. And I do know Dan Kane's discography quite well. And I've kind of attended a lot of their like reunion shows and stuff that they've done. But she got a horrible edit, and she clearly was trying very hard to keep this group together, and literally no one was trying to help her. Like it was just so annoying, this whole situation. But good for her for leaving as early as she did. Like the other girls that ended up leaving, like they really tried to stick it out, but good for Aubrey for just like, she could see where it was going, you know?
For sure. I think she was the only one who actually did have like a semblance of concept. I mean, even though Keely did say that she was a creative director, she did not present her mood board or her pin, whatever. They were trying to shade her. They're trying to shade her like she was being basic. But honestly, she came correct. And I think the reason why, even if she may have started to do it, her interest started to dwindle, it is with reason. I mean, if you're facing so much resistance in a sense, why am I giving you 100% when you guys are giving me like 30%? Then it's like, what's the point of me trying so hard? So I think that episode, I think it was episode 5 or 4, but the episode in which she was depicted as a negligent queen, whatever was happening in that situation, the editing was not great. I think what really bothered me was the fact that when a producer approached her and said his shady comments about Cherish and the other girls, saying how they didn't sell as much as she did, or they didn't sell as much as they're claiming. And then when it was brought to the attention of the Cherish girls and the other women, Aubrey was cornered, yelled at by the producer, yelled at by the Cherish girls, and nobody came to her defense. I think that was one of the biggest, like for me, I was like, wow, she needs to leave. So when she did leave, I was like, girl, keep on walking, go, please go. So yeah, that definitely really bothered me. And then even from like the beginning, I think Nivea, speaking of like who left, Nivea was like the second person to leave, right? She was in the corner all the time eating her rice cakes, minding her business, very much like a role that I would take. Like I would be the kind of, I'm cool to be here. I never been in a group. I'm excited. Let's try this out. For her to have to get in Keely's face as she was leaving because she's so riled up. What kind of environment were these ladies put into? You're living with these people. Yeah, they may have their cell phones or whatever and have access to like, I guess some kind of version of the outside world. But like, what kind of environment is it that someone who has not said anything to anyone leaves? So that,
I mean, all of it, let's be real, like all of it is because of the 2 Cherished twins for the most part. Like, they also came off terribly. And I'm sure some of it was editing, but some of it, it's like, you can't edit this much. You know, like they clearly were a negative energy for everybody in the house. Like from the very start with them taking over the recording, which I couldn't fully tell. Cause like, so Aubrey writes, right? Like, I assume some of the other women also write music. So I couldn't tell if the twins just immediately just took control or if it was like an agreed thing that they would. Right. But even from the start of that, they clearly weren't even considering what type of music the other woman would even want to sing. They weren't even considering like their vocal ability, like the other members, like vocal abilities and things like that. It was just like, this is how it's written. So like, this is your part, like go do it. And it's just like, that's not how this works. Like a good group, like you take Girls Aloud, where the producers wrote each part specifically for each girl, you know, a lot of the songs. And that's why they all sound so good. So like, that's part of working in a group. Like, I just don't get how these women have had this much experience. And it's like, I mean, amateur hour, which is what Keely said in the very last episode about like having to do full out, right? Like with makeup on. But this is where the amateur hour really showed. Like, I was like, how is this possible that you have no idea what you're doing? Yeah.
Yeah. And I get because these women are a lot older. not even trying to make their age like a big deal, but if you think about like timing wise, I think the 702 sisters, Irish and Lamisha, I'm going to call her Misha for now. They were, I think like early teens, kind of like early 20s in the 90s. So they're older. They're being told by women who are a little bit younger than them, which is, a lot of people don't like to acknowledge this, but even in the Black community, age is a big deal. The whole like sis, honey, baby girl thing. No. Like it's common now, like in our lexicon, because it's like, internet age or whatever. But a lot of people, like in the Black community, there's a hierarchy. We may not even talk about it or like have a name like Feel Piety or something like that, but there's definitely like a ma'am, blah, blah, blah thing going on, whatever. I can only imagine what it's like having two younger girls who are twins ganging up on everyone. And I can only imagine what it's like having my sister in the house as old as we are, getting told by these younger girls, like, you can't do this, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And that a lot of like ego things started happening that really bothered me. It was just like, well, I did this and I did that. At the end of the day, none of y'all are particularly relevant. I think for the most part, Felicia, I know only because she did Peaches, but Peaches is not like, the the R&B, like, honestly, it's not like my favorite song in the world when it comes to R&B. She did write another song for an artist called Isla called Strings, but I mean, Strings is cool. It has a nice, interesting kind of structure to it, but with the way they were arguing with the songs that were presented on this album, I don't think it was worth all the trouble. I don't think it was worth all the trouble, honestly. Like, all the disrespect, like making the younger sisters, the 702 sisters, feel like they were less than, making Aubrey feel like she was crazy. I feel like a lot of it was just like unnecessary, super unnecessary. And then with Pam, Pam used to be like, and I get it. We all change, we get older, and she's definitely said that she's changed. Like she's conversion therapied herself out of a past that she feels, I guess, particularly ashamed of because Aubrey touched her leg and it turned into a thing. But she didn't do anything. She was such a passive energy. And, going back to what you said about them having a queen each week, she was the first queen. And I have to say, she was probably the worst one. She didn't do anything. There was no sense of leadership. There's no sense of even godliness from her. Where it's like, like, hey guys, oh God, that's the wrong phrase, but she was definitely godly, but nothing about her was like, I'm going to try to bring this together with healing. I didn't feel healing from her. Not even trying to be sarcastic, but I didn't feel like healing. I just felt like she was like, I don't want to be involved. Like, I don't want to rock the boat. Like, the boat's already rocking. We need someone, it's sinking at this point. We need someone to plug the holes up, and you're not doing it. So I feel like she was like one of my favorite members from Total, like without a doubt. Like, she was so cool. And I just feel like now she's just, I'm just disappointed. If you couldn't tell, I'm disappointed in other words.
I think this show is just proof why you need management. You need someone to come and mediate and be able to make the decisions and have everyone respect that decision. There was just no, there was just no one to kind of keep it together. And then you also had so many people too. I mean, they probably just assumed people were going to leave, which is why they casted so many.
Sorry.
But I think the way the whole show went, like I said, it didn't feel like it was made by people who actually work in music or even love music. Like, felt like it was really made just for the cattiness of it. And I didn't appreciate that. And it made it really hard to root for them in general, because like they tried to do this whole redemption kind of for the last episode, where like one of the twins like contacted her stylist to like save the day. And then they like had a woman empowerment song. And it's like, you spent the whole show like talking down to the 702 woman and Aubrey and it's just like, I don't believe you when you're singing a female empowerment song then. Like, this doesn't match. Like, this doesn't work.
Chris, wait, can I just say something that everyone's thinking right now? You're only as strong as your weakest link. That situation was rough. I
felt so bad for Irish. Like, again, like, okay, I agree. Irish and Misha were not the best singers in that house, But as a songwriter, you should learn how they sing and find a part that's right for their voices. Like, this is just, like, I'm so annoyed because this could have been so good. This could have been so good. And it's just like, it isn't. Yeah. So I'm just very annoyed about it. Okay, let's talk about the EP. So the EP is out. EP is out. It features 6 songs, almost all written by the 2 Cherished Twins. I believe all produced by Cosign. Did Lamisha write something?
Lamisha has something on Say Something. I don't know what, because they didn't show.
Well, good for her. Get those royalties.
Good for you, girl. Yes.
Pam, she was in the group and did the final performance, and she wrote the song Only God Knows. But after the show, she did also leave to pursue a gospel career. So that makes sense, because she clearly was not comfortable with some of the songs and the topics they were singing about. And it was, she kind of she doesn't need to be there. If this group actually continues, like she doesn't belong. So anyway, what do you think? The final product. What do you think of it?
First of all, BluPrint. BluPrint sounds like a 90s boy group, dude group, whatever you want to call it. That's first and foremost. I'm granted group name shouldn't have any gender, whatever. At the end of the day, something about BluPrint does not sound like what this is. First of all, it doesn't sound like it fits them at all. I feel like they were trying to come up with something that was just like, quote unquote, cool. I don't know what they're the blueprint for. I don't know how this came to be. I feel like if in the show, they should have had an episode where they discussed the names, or at least let the fans vote, because BluPrint. Okay. Anyway, that's me being petty. Second of all, because there was like this homogenous environment where they only had the one producer and then the other producer that gaslit Aubrey, which is weird. And then he was gone. And then the Cherished Twins. This album sounded like, I don't know. It sounded like a collection of demos, a library of demos with one gospel track that just happened to get in there. And then an accidental encouragement, like empowerment of song. like just be told, at the end of the day, not even trying to, just for the sake of being funny and throwing shade. As a fan of all these groups, I didn't get any idea of like who they were as members of this group. Like Misha and Irish, even though they weren't singing in 702, honey, there was a little bit of a rap section, and like you don't know, like they had moments where you're like, okay, that's Misha's part, that's Irish's part. You know what I'm saying? Like the harmonies were lacking. So where maybe, like Keely could have jumped in, or even Shamari was lead of Black. How the hell you got her doing sub vocals? How you got her doing that? And on top of that, she was probably the least messy one. I won't say that she was like, like a water chestnut where she kind of just like, I'm going to just go with the stronger side. She was like, I'm not picking sides. I'm trying to make an album. She and Aubrey were probably the only 2 that were actually trying to make something happen, or maybe Nivea as well. But like, they were like, okay, I'll do it. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Until Aubrey was like, I'm getting disrespected. And Shamari was like, well, I'm not getting disrespected, but this is kind of ridiculous, but it's not enough for me to leave. I'm not saying she was perfect in certain situations. I feel like she should have like kind of said something, but for the most part, she wasn't pushed out.
Right.
Therefore, why is she not singing more? I mean, that being said though, no offense to Cosign, no offense to Fallon or anything, or Felicia or anything like that. Because like I said, I've heard songs that they have made that I respect and that I like. Peaches excluded. And I have to say that this was a little disappointing. And like you said about like, K-pop TV shows, just bringing it back to K-pop in general, even like just non-American groups, the line distribution thing, I don't know what it is with Americans where it's like, I have to have one person sing this one part for like 16 bars and then have someone else sing why? Why can't we just kind of tag in and tag out? That's what a group is supposed to do, but I guess that's why I'm solo. I don't know. What do you think about the album?
So I actually think some of the songs are actually decent. But I think as a whole, I think the production is just very bare. Like it really is just like very basic beats and then like one or two synths on top of it. There's no flourishes. There's no like interesting moments. There's no switch ups. Like I think especially because we've been reviewing so much K-pop on this channel that we're used to like experimentation. We're used to like cool things happening that only happen like once in a song. And if you miss it, it's gone, you know, and it's like, what was that? You know, there's none of that. Like literally this, it's so bare. I understand they only had 30 days to write the album and they spent like the first 20 days like arguing. So I get it. But then also like, clearly this was done like months ago. So like, it's not like the producer couldn't go in and then add more stuff afterwards. They just needed to record some, I mean, they probably needed to re-record vocals once Pam decided to leave anyway. So they did have more time, even if they weren't in the house together. So that's not an excuse to me. Sorry.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. It sounds like type beats. Sounds like YouTube type beats. Like, oh, I'm looking up, you know, like her type beats or this gospel singer type beats or this rapper type beat. Is not. The drama wasn't worth it.
I do think so. I think Skeletons, Go Don't Leave, and Bird's Eye View are all decent songs. The melodies are good, like especially Skeletons. I can sing it back to you now. Like I actually think there's potential there. Like they feel like half baked. I think maybe Skeletons feels the most fully formed. It at least has like an interesting intro and there's an outro. Like that is there's a slight switch up towards the end where it does kind of pick up a little bit. So yeah. Those, I guess, are the standouts to me, but am I gonna be playing them a lot? No.
Yeah. I think for like I think I mentioned this earlier, but like for the sake of nostalgia, that's the only reason why I can see people like really listening to this album, not for the sake of like, oh, this is like amazing. This is the blueprint for what R&B should sound like, whatever. I think Say Something was something I liked lyrically. But that's about it. I mean, the melody and the lyrics were cool. Not cool. They were very poignant, excuse me. And the twins were definitely leading the charge on this one with good reason. This song needed their vocal strength and their vocal quality. I will say that they can sing. They can probably have some of the strongest voices in the whole situation of the house. So I'll give them that for sure. And the Bird's Eye View was cool. Verse 2 was interesting in the sense where the beat falls away and there's like a heartbeat and the ending has some falsettos and some nice harmonies, but I don't remember much else about it. Yeah. Doesn't mean it was like a bad song. It just wasn't like, oh wow, this is something that could be a lead single. Like none of these deserve a music video to me.
No, I think at the very like they all need a remix. They would all need something extra there. They maybe a feature or something. Like none of them are there yet. I agree.
Yeah. One thing I do have to say about the vocals though in this album, if someone was pitchy, I'm not sure what kind of like editing software that they were using, like what DAW they were using, but if there was an auto tune you could definitely hear it. I'm not sure if they were like using Melodyne to adjust the notes. If they were using Melodyne, it probably wouldn't have sounded so like tinny, so robotic. But during certain points of this auto tune, certain parts of the song, there was auto tune. Excuse me. And I just thought, why? Why? I get it. It's a project. I get it. It's like, you know, I don't have to deal with this 30 days after the fact. But why would you want something so half baked to be part of your discography? That's my thing. I think there's a level of pride that's missing. There's a level of creativity that's lacking. Again, all of the disrespect and the nastiness and the drama between Aubrey, Felicia, the 702 twins, and Cosign, very unnecessary for the product that was produced. Do you have anything you want to say about like that?
All I'm going to say is that Aubrey was correct. None of these songs were written, like none of them are anything unique. Like they weren't creating a new sound for a new girl group. Like these were all just like basic tracks that the twins wrote with no one there to actually develop them and actually turn them into like unique hits. It's all, yes, I agree. It was kind of a waste of time overall. But
For sure.
they did perform the whole EP and they actually showed a lot of it on the show, which I appreciate because I was actually worried that they were going to cut it down to like a 30-second like performance.
Oh yeah, right. Like a compilation of reactions like at that listening party.
Yeah. So what did you think of the performance?
I'm going to say it again. For all that disrespect, for all that we are doing everything ourselves, bull crap that was going on, they lip synced the whole performance. Why y'all stressing about vocals? Why y'all stressing about dancing full out, Keely? Why are you stressing about all these little things that mean nothing in the grand scheme of this performance? Because you lip sync the whole damn time. I don't understand. Okay, now that I'm off my soapbox, Keely, she was sending me, okay, because she was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to perform. I just don't. I don't. Now, me teasing, me like mimicking her doesn't mean that what she felt wasn't valid. Or what I am saying is that when she got on that stage, she went above and beyond. And I was like, what's happening? She was like, I don't want to do this. Throws her head back on the couch. Oh, these girls keep talking. And she's thrusting. She's like, and I'm like, honey, you said you didn't want to do this. Then do like, I just can't.
Okay, so
no tea, no shade.
Okay, so I think lip syncing is okay. Like some of the choreography was hard. I couldn't tell if they were lip syncing the ballads or if that was just dubbed after the fact.
Copy, yeah.
Yeah, or just heavily edited after the fact. Yeah. So I would say I actually thought they actually did a great job overall, given that they did probably only have like a week to really put the whole thing together, or even less. I can't fully tell with the timeline. So I think they actually did a good job. They pulled it together. Yes. I don't love the whole performance direction of it. I think some of the choreography felt a little extra overall. Like, I don't think they need to be doing as much as they were for some of the, especially like talking, like it's kind of like the way it sounds. It's quite bare, but like, it's also relatively slow, so it's not really like, so then like, I don't know. There's just like so much of bouncing, and it was like that's not in the music. That's not, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just felt like a little much.
Right.
I enjoyed Skeletons. I thought the whole chair thing was really great. So I enjoyed moments of it, but I just didn't love the overall creative direction.
I hear you. Well, shout out to Aaliyah Janelle and Cinnamon for wasting her time giving them vocal instruction, because they really actually sing. But yeah, I think Aaliyah Janelle does have that kind of style. I'm not saying that she doesn't know how to choreograph, but she was giving them something that looked current. She was trying to give them something that was sexy and made them all look good. And for the most part, even with the issues with the 702 sisters, not dancing as well, and then Pam just not getting into that groove, that specific kind of groove, I think it turned out pretty well. Like you said, I think stylistically, it wasn't as tragic as they were trying to make it seem either. But, that also plays back into what kind of image does this group have? Called yourself BluPrint. You're wearing all black. Everything about this album is very dark and moody. So you ended up pigeonholing yourself, where you put on black leather and you ended up looking like dominatrixes, plural, dominatrixi. Whatever. You look like a bunch of BDSM mistresses. Yeah. Right. And then you had people feeling uncomfortable and all these other things. Like, I don't want to perform if I'm going to, if I feel like a chorizo in a dress, like they feel like sausages or whatever the case may be. But Keely felt really insecure about her thing. But yeah, I wish stylistically, maybe they could have had some color. Like, they were wearing black. Like, there's like, if you have a favorite color, bam, there's your outfit. But like red, but just primary color on that stage, something. It was just all black. And I guess it looks nice, looks sleek. I will say that Shamari, honey, oh my God, I saw her. If I were her husband, I would have been so proud. And he definitely was super proud of her. She looked great. She sounded great. Her outfit was my favorite. Shamari's a baddie. Like,
she's a star. She is so good. She sounds really good on this EP. I haven't mentioned it earlier. She sounds really, really good.
Yes.
She killed it on that stage.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like if Left Eye hadn't died, and then if the member from Black, right now her name is like slipping from my mind. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I feel like had Black had a little bit more fortune in their career, they probably would be still performing. They would be, or at least she would be making more music. But I think she's happy with her situation now. You know, she's happily married, has her children. So I think this was a good opportunity for her to, I guess, you know, dust off the vocal cords a little bit and get back on stage. I hope it does spark something within her. I'm not saying we need a full album, but if she did decide to release a little something, I will be on the lookout for that. The Cherished Twins, they were good. I won't say that they were not. Unfortunately, due to all of the tumultuousness in that house, I can't say that I can be like, oh my God, they were my favorite. They were there. They held it down. They were like the anchors. They were the foundation of it. The little sparks of interest that came from me was Shamari just looking amazing and Keely doing her, yeah, them get me. That girl, that part of that song, she was giving it to you though. Like, needless to say, even though she was being a little bit like, you know, like I said, above and Beyonce, she was giving it to you. I'm not gonna play her. She was giving it.
And Keely has a very interesting voice. Like it's very recognizable.
Oh.
Maybe not spectacular, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, also, can I just say the set list going from Pam's gospel song to them all writhing and twerking for talking on the couch, back to Say Something, which is about female empowerment, where again, talking is about like other women, like
no, not other women, hoes.
Okay, other hoes being talking crap. How do you go from that? Like, who thought that was a good sequence? Like, what? Also, like, why would you start? Yes, this is why I love Aubrey. Because let's be real, I've seen Aubrey a few times now, like in Dumb Blonde concerts, in Danity concerts. She knows what a good show is. She knows.
Yeah, I have to say, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like I don't know who thought that was a good idea. That was a bizarre choice.
I could see why, honestly, when I heard the TV version, because these girls keep talking, you know, but then I listened to the album, these hoes keep talking. Like for me, even though I'm not so far to the point where I'm like Pam, I don't ever like try to curse or say anything like quote unquote that needs to be edited for a radio friendly version in my songs, right? For me, these hoes keep talking, you would not catch me saying it. So I can see why she was just like, I don't want to be singing on this song. I can see you know, and it's a lot of bragging. And I do believe that even aside from like the genre of music, the lyrical content wasn't exactly anything that Pam would align herself with. I mean, this whole braggadocious style that is very common in hip hop and R&B now, I don't think she gets jiggy with it, and which is what's completely fine. I just I just wish she wasn't just, I feel like they just gave her was it not Bird's Eye View, God Only Knows. I feel like they gave her that as like she sang the whole song. They gave her that as like a, hey, you know, here you go, because I'm pretty sure they all recorded parts, right?
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I really wish we could have gotten a 9-member version. I feel like if you sign on to do this show, your voice is not yours anymore. Like, I want to hear it just for the sake of my selfishness. I wish I could have heard
I wish I could hear too. So Aubrey has actually posted a clip of her singing Skeletons, which she sounds really good. So,
I bet she does. She's amazing.
I believe that part was originally Misha. I believe there's
you're right. That's why it sounds like that. Yeah, you're right.
But yes, I would have loved to see Misha and Irish do their thing. Like they really did deserve their moment. It would have been good for them, I think. So that is very unfortunate. Yeah.
I do feel a little bit sad for them because Misha, if I'm not mistaken, is going through or did go through like a family domestic situation. I'm not saying it was abused, but she did have a moment where this would have been good for her. I mean, I'm probably sure she's probably doing well now, but this would have been good for her. And even with Irish, I feel like she actually didn't want to leave, but because it's her sister, she left. And even when they were in a group with Mila with 702, they sang the harmonies. they danced, and I feel like there was a lack of patience and care in this case. Overall, I'm going back to it. It wasn't worth the drama, but congratulations for actually finishing it. You know, even with all the little jokes we're tossing out here and me like getting on soapboxes every 5 seconds. Congratulations for finishing something, because they could have all easily walked away from it. Let's be real here. They could have all walked away from it. Felicia and Fallon could have been like, you know what? We did do all of this crap and you guys are disrespecting us. Goodbye. They could have easily said that. So I don't want to keep bashing them. We're not really bashing them. We're being observant and recording that and talking about it. But all that aside, congratulations to them. The show was not bad. I doubt they're going to have TV performances because I don't think they like each other that much, actually. I think they tolerated each other. But yeah, that being said, with this whole album, is there a song that you would cut or keep from this album?
Okay. I would cut Only God Knows, just because it just doesn't fit in there at all. But I think if you just disregard that sense that really was just there for Pam and she's no longer in the group, I would probably cut Say Something. Like,
yeah,
I've heard much better female empowerment songs. I thought I liked the idea of the a cappella approach, but I don't think it was executed well at all. I think it just sounds very robotic, and it doesn't feel like emotional. It doesn't feel genuine.
Yeah.
And so I blame the production for that. And again, I just don't believe them when they sing about female empowerment. Given this entire show, it just doesn't work for me. Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
What would you cut?
I agree. So the song that I would cut is definitely Go Don't Leave, or Go Don't Leave. Gee, really? You know what gets me? There's like no love song on this, like an actual love song, like, or like a Make Love to Me song. I would have taken a Make Love to Me song over Go Don't Leave. Like, they may have mentioned, oh yeah, you do it right or whatever, so come back at the end of the night. Or I'm making the lyrics up right now at this point, but that's what the song was doing. And that bridge was just weak. That bridge was pathetic. That bridge was terrible. That would have been an opportunity where you kind of have somebody give you like a little bit of a speaking, rapping, singing situation in the bridge, maybe. Wasted opportunity. I don't have as much credits as these girls do, but even I would have tried a little bit harder to make this song more dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, it does feel like they ran out of time at the end. Again, though, I don't
have the bridge then to take it out. Just throw the whole song out, baby, and the bathwater. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Not happy
all right.
with
So
it.
what would you keep? I
would keep talking. That's just, yeah. Why do you give me? I'm joking.
Yeah.
Look at you with the choreography. But no, I would keep maybe Skeletons.
Yeah, maybe I agree Skeletons. With that. I agree with that. I think Skeletons is probably the best track for me. It's the best performance as well from the show, and I personally think would probably have the best chances should they actually release it to radio or something. I don't know. I can't really fully tell if they have any plans for the future. I think Keely, again, is still on the I never wanted to be in a girl group. So
that was head back.
And so I think really Shamari is the only one who actually wants to keep this going. Is what it feels like.
Yeah. See, I told you, she and Aubrey probably were like kind of like energy, like the energy was the same, but their experience were completely different. Like Shamari's probably like, yeah, like this is great. But yeah, this. What kind of rating would you give this album? Like the final rating? Not you laughing.
I would probably go with a 5. Yeah, probably go with a 5. It just is.
Whoa,
it's just. I mean, it's just like all of it is just so throwaway. Like,
whoa, that's like the lowest rank. I think it's the lowest number you have ever given. For me, I was gonna give it a 6, but just since you're feeling bold and you gave it a 5, I'm gonna give it a 5 as well. half baked, so you get half a score out of 10. That being said, we said everything that could be said, actually.
Yeah, I think honestly, season 2 should just be Danity Kane 5-piece reunion. That's what season 2 of the Encore should be.
If you can get them.
With enough money. With enough money.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Oh yeah, season 2. Let's get them. Let's get Danity Kane. Or let's see. Oh yeah, let's hear before we close out. There's some groups I wouldn't mind seeing on the Encore, or like even like singers in general, just to get them a redemption. Who is it? I wouldn't mind seeing like an SWV, like the other members, like they've not complained, but they have mentioned on their reality show that they felt like the other two girls felt like Coco was singing lead a lot of the times, and she was, right. I would love to see the two remaining members of SWV, like you said, just put a whole group that just broke up, put them back together and give them another chance, not just like a bunch of random strangers who use their reputations from like 3 decades ago to justify their behavior. So yes, be sure to let us know what you guys think about the songs, the show, the groups, or whatever brought you joy from the situation in the comments below. We would love to hear what you all have to think about it, and have a little discussion about everything. And make sure to like, subscribe, so that you can see more reviews from us, because we are a good time here on CCTV. So until next time, that's Chris.
That's Jan.
And we are CCTV. Bye.